All right, we're gonna get into this book real quick. Just something for you to be aware of, and this is part of the origin story, right? We're talking about the Yuchi Indians. This book, the University of Pennsylvania Anthropological Publications of the University Museum, Volume One, Number One. This is the Ethnology of the Yuchi Indians by Frank G. Speck from 1909. And here it is again, just in case you couldn't see it. The Ethnology of the Yuchi Indians by Frank B. Speck, George Leib Harrison Fellow in Anthropology. This is from 1909. So we go to a part of the book here where they're talking about the origin of the earth. We got the origin of light, sun, moon, and stars. This is their mythology, right? And then talking about the origin of people as well. At some time not far removed from this mythical stage, the event of the creation of man took place. Whether this was during or after the creation of the earth is not known. At any rate, as explained in the myth, a woman in a vague way became the mother of a boy who originated from a drop of her menstrual blood. This boy she carried to the rainbow where the beings were gathered, and he was scratched by them as was customary. After several exciting events had taken place, which are not well understood, it seems that the mother was driven away with her boy. The inference is that the mother and son then fell from the sky to the earth. Henceforth, he was called Son, Taso or Sanso, and became the ancestor of a new race upon the new earth. In this way originated the human beings who called themselves Tasoyaha, the offspring of the sun. That's what they called themselves, talking about the Jushi, offspring of the sun. Then Sun taught his people certain ceremonies. The sun taught his people, which were to be performed to protect them from evil influences and to honor the supernatural beings of the realm over the earth. He gave them two plants, Faidi button snake root and Tata red root, which they were to steep and drink during the ceremony to purify them. He instructed them in the scratch and write, which he had undergone and instituted the practice at the same time of distributing new and sacred fire once a year at the occasion of the ceremonies among the different human households. Sun then enjoined the people to keep up the dances and rites he had taught them, saying that once a year he would soar through the heavens over them and look down to see if they were obeying, a drakon. He continued their prosperity upon their obedience and left them after giving other instructions regarding ceremonial details and features of town life. It almost sounds like the same story of Quetzalcoatl, Bochica, Viracocha. Among other things, he showed them how to make an assembly ground like the one in the supernatural world and taught them how to decorate this to symbolize the rainbow. As there are some details in this assembly ground or town square with its symbolism, which deserve attention, it will be taken up later on. The ceremonies which were begun on earth at this time will be also described under special heading. All right, now pay attention. Listen to this part. It says, it should be mentioned, this is on page 106 of this book, it should be mentioned here that at certain times, since the origin, there have been born individuals with a very dark shade of skin, okay? This is amongst the Yuchi, right? Since the origin of this myth, since the beginning, right, there have been born individuals with a very, very dark shade of skin, very so swarty. These black, so-called black, these black-skinned Yuchi, pay attention, black Indians, as they are termed, are looked upon as being more closely related to the sun than the rest of the people. To sun, listen, literally, what they're saying here is that these darker-skinned Yuchi, these black-skinned Yuchi, are more related to the original progenitor of the tribe, to the sun. That's what they're calling him. Remember the mythology, to the sun than the rest of the people. The very dark-shaded complexion Yuchis are more related or closely related to sun than the rest of the people. Okay, you guys get that? They are said to be his direct offspring, their mothers having become pregnant by son, and as no particular rank is given them. However, their position is a sort of empty aristocracy. They're like royals. Several black-skinned Yushi, listen, are said to be living today. Yeah. A lot of them became what? Colored, black, African Americans. Yeah. Again, several black-skinned Yushi are said to be living today. But I have not been fortunate enough to see them. Oh man, I wish I could see them. Just go in the hood everywhere. Go in the southeast, you'll find a bunch of them. Here are several translations of variants of the origin myth, which has just received comment. All right, and so they go on to different origins of this myth. All right, the second version, as it says here, the first version. But I just wanted to show you guys this real quick. This fact right here, which is part of their mythology, part of their tradition, part of their oral history, that the black-skinned Yushi, these very dark-shaded people, are more closely related to the original Yushi progenitor, all right, than the rest of the people. So stop trying to make people Africans, all right, because a lot of these black-skinned Yushi are said to be living today. So we continue in this book right here called American Indian Myths and Mysteries by Vincent H. Gaddis. It says here, another ingredient in the Amaranth racial melting pot was discovered in 1966. Manfred Metcalf, an amateur archaeologist, was collecting rocks at the U.S. military reservation at Fort Benning, Georgia. All right, you guys never heard of this? This is the Metcalf stone. All right, this was found again where? Fort Benning, Georgia, in order to construct an outdoor fireplace for his patio. In a rubbish pile at the side of an old grist mill, he found a red sandstone slab with symbols cut into it. He took the stone to Dr. Joseph B. Mahan at the Columbus Museum of Arts and Crafts, the same man who was to call Dr. Gordon's attention to the Bat Creek stone later. Mahan is an expert on American ethnology and archaeology. He is a specialist on the Yuchis, a tribe that once inhabited what is now Georgia. All right, listen to this, Yuchis. All right, I got some images of the Yuchis here drawn of them. As you can see, copper-colored tribes of America, right? But was resettled in Oklahoma, all right? So the Yuchis, what? They once inhabited where? Georgia. The Yuchis, what happened to the Yuchis? Who settled in Georgia? We just caught a video the other day, right? Who has settled in South Carolina, Georgia? Sephardic Moorish people. What were they doing? What were they doing? You thought it was the white man. No, what were they doing? Resettling local tribes. How come we never heard of the Yuchi in Georgia, right? When everybody thinks of Georgia, nobody thinks of Yuchis. Or do you? And they were resettled to Oklahoma in 1836. 1836. That might be lost heritage right there. He believes that Yuchis may have originally come from the old world, and he thought the stone's inscription might add evidence to his theory. So they're saying the Yuchis, all right, that was in their area. He sent a cast replica to Dr. Gordon. Gordon's famous for establishing a common background for ancient Greek and Hebrew civilizations, and his Mediterranean language studies noticed that the markings were very old, and it was unlikely that the inscriptions was a hoax. All right, they're consulting one of their experts. This is one of their experts, okay? It's not a hoax, he's saying. In an article in Manuscripts, a quarterly published by the Manuscript Society, he wrote, after studying the inscription, it was apparent to me that the affinities of the script were with the Aegean syllabary, whose two best known forms are Minoan linear A and Mycenaean linear B. The double axe in the lower left corner is, of course, reminiscent of Minoan civilization, right? So where were the Minoans really, huh? What's going on here? Where's the true old world? He concluded, we therefore have American inscriptional contacts with the Aegean of the Bronze Age, near the southwest and north shores of the Gulf of Mexico. This can hardly be accidental. Ancient Aegean writing near three different sectors of the Gulf reflect Bronze Age transatlantic communication between the Mediterranean and the New World around the middle of the second millennium BC. All right, this is what they were concluding, but they never taught us all this stuff, right? They were saying here in America where the Yuchi were living, okay, these artifacts they're finding, we gotta dodge the hijack, all right? So it says, Yuchi tradition is that their ancestors came from the east in boats after a natural catastrophe. Their new homeland was to the south, probably Central and Northern South America, and they lived there for a long time before migrating north, perhaps across the Gulf of Mexico. A chief interviewed by Mahan said his tribe came to the southeastern United States about 1,000 years before the appearance of the explorer De Soto, right? So according to one of the Yuchi chiefs, right? So it says European settlers drove them out of Georgia, not white people, European settlers. These were mostly Sephardic Moorish people in Georgia. Let's not forget. Got to tell the story how it really happened. This ain't personal. Okay, so they dodged the hijack because not all Europeans are white. That's what they're insinuating when they're saying they're putting white settlers here. Again, European settlers drove them out of Georgia. Who? The Yuchi, so-called Negro people or copper-colored tribes of America. Today, about 1,700 Yuchis live in Oklahoma, where they maintain their traditional ways and their ancient religion, huh? Is it all the original people? It is their agricultural festival. That is so amazing, for it is described in detail in the Bible. What? Hold up. Their agricultural festival, right? Like we were talking about in past videos about giving thanks, the Feast of Harvest, that they actually mentioned also in the Old Testament. This is what they're saying here. It is their agricultural festival. That is so amazing, for it is described in detail in the Bible. In the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, Mahan points out that there are far too many resemblances for this to be accident or sheer coincidence. This is the Feast of Booths, Tabernacles of Sukkot, all right? Listen, there are too many resemblances for this to be accident or sheer coincidence. Who's the real? Where's the true old world? You are the book. That's what I've been trying to show you. This is the Feast of Booths, Tabernacles of Sukkot, which includes an 80-day festival. Which includes an 8-day festival that starts on the 15th day or full moon of the Holy Harvest month, living in booths throughout the festival. 4, at the religious center for the tribe, and 5, maintaining the sacred fire. The first 3 of these same observances are carried on by some Jews to this very day. By some, not all, but they're still doing it here. They are the source. The Yuchis make a pilgrimage to their religious center on the 15th day of their harvest month. During the 8th day festival, they live in booths that have open spaces in the roofs and are covered with foliage and tree branches. There's a sacred area in which a fire is kept burning, and they celebrate by walking around the fire in a circle. 2 large decorated branches are carried by 2 men during the circling walk, and other men during other parts of the observance shake similar branches. During identical time periods, Jews today who celebrate this festival dwell in booths open to the sky, but covered with fruits, vegetables, and foliage. They take circular walks or circumambulations, and plants tied together into a staff are used for ceremonial shaking. Although the Jewish celebration of tabernacles no longer has the sacred fire, it is referred to in Leviticus 23:37, and the Yuchi were still doing it when the Sephardi Moorish people got here. They were still practicing it correctly. They were still doing it, okay?